Hello, everyone, and welcome to this year's Sage 50 Canada Year-End 2025 webinar. I'm excited to talk to you all about the year-end feature and processes in Sage 50 Canada. My name is Ivana. I'm also joined by my colleague Dorcas.
Morning.
And so this webinar is recorded and will be made available for everyone online, hopefully by the end of the week, so everyone can be able to reread it. You also have a section Q&A that is accessible. You can send us questions. Dorcas is going to try to answer your questions directly online, and we'll have a time at the end of this webinar to go over your questions. Any questions that we cannot answer because we don't have time during the webinar, we will send answers to those questions after, hopefully, again, by the end of the week. So let's start. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how to prepare for the year-end in Sage 50 Canada. So we're going to talk about the checklist to finish the fiscal year end, and also the checklist to prepare for the payroll year end for the end of 2025. I'm going to talk about the year-end center, and we'll talk a bit about the installation of the new software update, so the 2026 software, and the tips to know to install it smoothly, especially for this 2026.0 update or 2026.1. I'll give you all of the resources at the end that are accessible online that you can access directly to help you prepare this year-end. And as I said, we'll have the quick Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So let's start with how to prepare for the year-end. So what is important to know is that in Sage 50 Canada, there's actually two types of year. There's the calendar year and the fiscal year. The calendar year, as its name says, it runs from January 1st to December 31st. It is used in Sage 50 Canada, especially for the payroll and uniquely for the payroll module. What happens is when you start a new calendar year, all of the year-to-date payroll information of your employees are going to be reset to 0. And again, it only goes from January 1st to December 31st. The fiscal year is different. The fiscal year is going to depend on each business. Each business is going to have their own dates for their fiscal year. A lot of businesses have the fiscal year that is running from January 1st to December 31st, but not all of the businesses. What happens when you start a new fiscal year, all of the revenue and expenses accounts are automatically closed, and you can see this in your balance sheet. For instance, you're going to see the net loss profit that's going to be moved to the retained earning account. And in your income statement, you're going to see the revenue and expenses balances that are going to be reset to 0. So how to prepare to start and, how to prepare to close those years and start the new ones. So let's start with the fiscal year. What is going to be extremely important for the fiscal year is to start with, you're going to have to check your data integrity. So this is a step that takes a bit of time if there are issues. Unfortunately, it's a bit too complicated to go step by step during this webinar, but I'm going to do an overview of what it means and how to check it. So if I go in Sage 50, so to access the data integrity, you're going to have to go in the menu maintenance at the top and then check data integrity. This is accessible if you're connected as the sysadmin in single user mode. In there, you're going to have this window. The first line compares all of the total debit and total credits recorded at the moment you're looking at. So it's at the latest transaction date recorded in your system. This is what is in your system. And obviously, the total debits should match the total credits. If there's an issue, you will see a little star in the middle, and this number will be different than this number. This is something we're going to talk especially. If this line is incorrect, there is something that you will have, absolutely, you will have to do it before starting the new year. For the other lines, it's a bit different. What the other lines do, they compare the total of the ledger for each line. So this is the balance, the account payable balance, and it compares those balances versus the subledgers that are matching with those. So for instance, we have the account payable that this amount should match with the total of the unpaid invoices. If it doesn't, it could mean that maybe it's in relation with an issue that you would have in the debit credit on the first line, or it could be that a transaction was incorrectly recorded. So in Sage 50, you have what is called linked accounts. Those accounts are control accounts, and they should only be used in the module they are linked to. For the account payable, that will be the payable account. So you can only access and modify the account payable when you enter a purchase invoice or when you apply a payment to an invoice. If you were to use this account in another entry, such as a journal general entry, that could create an inconsistency. So at your end, if you do see inconsistencies, it could be related to prior adjustments, and you will have to edit, unfortunately, your company file to make sure to find out where this is coming from. So this is the same case for each line in there. If you see an issue on one of those lines, you will have to do an audit. That said, as said, the first line is different. As you think everyone knows, you cannot post in Sage 50 unbalanced transactions. So if the total debits doesn't match the total credits, it means that the software is not reading something properly. I'm sure a lot of you have unfortunately encountered these situations, and you may have called the support for assistance. As you all know, at your end, the support unfortunately usually has a lot of wait time. So I'm going to show you how to avoid having to call the support and how you can fix this by yourself. The first step is to make backup of your file. Always do backups. I'm going to mention this a lot of times in this presentation. Doing backups is really something that should be done extremely frequently. So once I'm not actually going to do the steps, but I'm going to show you how to access them, and then I'll show you how to access the recap of those steps on outside of this webinar. So you should always, before using this tool, do a backup of your file. Then you can access the tool. You can close your Sage 50 file. I'm not going to do it because it's going to take a bit of time if I were to do it during the webinar. But with your file closed, you can go in your local disk C, and you're going to have to locate the Sage program folder. So it's going to be under Program Files x86. And then you need to browse to the current edition of the software you are using. So for me, that's going to be the Accountant Edition version 2026. Once I'm in there, I'm going to locate the tool that I'm looking for. It is named the Data Utility Tool, and its short name is DUTIL for Database Utility. This is a tool you may have seen before. It's quite simple. All you have to do is just put a check mark to those 3 lines. You can browse to the location of your file, and then you can click on OK. If you have a password on your file, it will ask you for the system password. You can enter the password, click on OK. You will have a message saying that the tasks are complete. You can just then click on Close, reopen your file, and check again the data integrity. And this is how you can resolve a data integrity issue caused by the software. Okay. I hope this helps and gives you a lot of information. Once you were able to resolve your data integrity issues, you're going to be able to print your year-end reports. You can, if there were integrity issues or if there are other issues, you may need to post year-end adjustments. Those are usually given by your accountants. If your year-end is on December 31st, this is quite a busy period for your accountants. So obviously not, it is quite possible that you're not going to be able to have those year-end adjustments done by December 31st. This is okay. The software allows you to post in 1 year prior, so you're going to be able, this step for the year-end adjustments can actually be done after you start the new year. That is perfectly fine. You don't have to do it before starting the new year. What you will have to do is make a backup of your data, and then you can start the new year. Okay. Let's now talk about the payroll year. It will start with the same, but less intense. You also have to check the data integrity, mainly for the debit credit issue. The other lines, it's less important because the only module that's gonna be affected by the payroll year is the payroll module. So you don't have to actually check at that time the account payable, account receivable, if they would have issues. What you will have to check if you have employees is what is called the PI report, the pensionable and insurable earning report review. I'm going to talk in a slide, I'm going to talk more in details about this report because it is usually not really understood properly in Sage 50, so I'm going to go a bit more in details in this report. Once you've done those steps, you can create your T4s and RL-1. You can also do them after you start the new year. That is perfectly fine. The CA accepts those until the end of February. And then you can do a backup of your data and start the new calendar year. So as I mentioned, let's talk about the PI report. So this is a report that reviews that from the gross pay that was given to your employees, it's going to show you the pensionable earnings as well as the insurable earnings, the EI insurable earnings, and the amount of CPP, QPP, CPP2, QPP2, or EI that was deducted from your employees. It will also show you if you over-deducted or under-deducted. But what is extremely important and unfortunately misunderstood, this report in Sage 50 Canada is only accurate if you have posted the same paycheck numbers as pay period set up for your employees. So if you have an employee that started mid-year, they would not have the total number of paychecks that matches the pay period. So this report would show that you may have under-deducted them, but that is not actually the case. So this report is not accurate. It should not be used for employees that did not receive all of the paychecks during the year, or that maybe have received more paychecks than what was set up. So let me give you an example. So I'm going to go to my payroll module. I have a few employees that are set up. To access the PI report, I can go into Reports, Payroll, Year-end Review. Can select all of my employees and run the report. Okay, so it finished calculating. So I can see the first column is the gross pay. I have the pensionable earning, CPP, QPP. If I under-deducted and over-deducted or under-deducted the CPP, the QPP. Same thing, CPP2, QPP2, over, under, EI interval earning, the EI that was deducted, was it over or under? I can see that I have a lot of things in the over-under, but a lot of those things are actually just rounding issues. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear up the report a bit. Don't really care about rounding issues. The CRA doesn't care for something that is a discrepancy for the full year, not less than $1. It's just a rounding issue. So let's make this a bit more clear. Okay, so it looks like I have 3 employees that are showing having issues. So it's rounding issues for the EI. They don't have any CPP2 or QPP2, but they have issues, it looks like, for the CPP or QPP. So it looks like I've over-deducted 2 employees, under-deducted 1. So I'm going to have to investigate employee per employee what happened and why I have this issue. So to investigate, I'm going to go first, I'm going to double click on the name of one of the employees. And this is going to open the employee detail report for this employee. So I'm going to have the list of paychecks that were given to this employee during the calendar year. So I can see I only have 4 paychecks. It looks like this employee started working in September. Can see that I'm paying my employees on the first of the month. So they actually already received, for the employees that work the full year, they already received 12 paychecks. I'm just going to go check. So I'm double clicking on the name of the employee again, and I'm going to go check the pay periods. They are properly set up at 12. So I'm paying my employees once a month, but it looks like this employee only started working in September. So this employee only has 4 paychecks, which explains why the PI report is not accurate. The PI report is showing an issue. It's showing I over-deducted my employee, but it might actually be correct. It's just that the report cannot be used for this employee. They only worked a partial year. This report is not usable. To be able to check if those amounts are correct, I would have to either do a manual calculation. I can export those amounts in Excel, use a proper formula, or I can use the CRA online calculator that allows me to just input the total amounts and see if it was under-deducted or over-deducted. So this is a case that unfortunately the PI report would show an issue, but it's not actually an issue. And that is a case where I would have to manually check if it is or not. It is unfortunate, but unfortunately, this is how the PI report in Sage 50 is working. It is only valid if the employee has worked the full year and has received the same number of paychecks than the number of pay periods set up for the employee. So let's see for a second employee. As I said, we need to go employee per employee to make sure that maybe it's the same issue, maybe it's a different issue. But this is something that has to be done after the last paycheck of the year has been posted. I double-clicked on the name of the second employee. It's going to open the employee detailed report so we can see all of the paychecks given to this employee during the year. Okay, so it looks like this employee received the 12 paychecks. Yeah, I have all of the paychecks. I can check that they were correctly set up to 12 pay periods. Perfect. So let's see what happened for the CPP. It looks like the CPP stopped calculating at some point during the year. So that would be something I would need to investigate as to why. One of the reasons, maybe they changed position, maybe they aged out of the CPP, they're starting either reach 70 years old or stopped being deducted. In this case, it is the age that is causing this issue. The employee reached 70 years old. They no longer have to pay the CPP. But again, because the CPP was not calculating on the full year, the system is not on the PA report able to calculate if the amount deducted is proper or not. So that would be, again, something, a calculation that I would have to check manually. Let's check for the last employee. So I'm double clicking on their name again. So you can see there's different circumstances where the PA report would not be accurate. So if you're running the PA report on your last paycheck and you're thinking directly, okay, I need to do an adjustment, before doing anything, you need to review what is going on, why this happened, and I would not recommend doing adjustment directly unless you are an accountant. I would recommend consulting with your accountant or consulting with your CPA or even consulting with the CRA directly. So for the last employee, it looks like they got all of the paychecks plus a bonus paycheck. So again, I go, yeah, they were set up for 12 pay periods. They received 13 paychecks. And so the PA report, again, would not be accurate. Something that people would think if we were to modify the pay period, modify it to 13 because they received 13 pay periods, they received 13 paychecks, sorry, that would not work. We can do a test, we can save. Okay, we can refresh the report. Unfortunately, that did not change the amounts reported. Why it doesn't change those amounts? It's because the way Sage 50 Canada works, those amounts are coming from an estimation done when the paychecks were posted. So changing a pay period in the middle of the year would also cause issues for the peer report because this information is coming from each estimation done from each time when a paycheck was posted. So changing the pay periods at the end of the year will not modify what was posted prior. It will, however, be important if you notice issues where the pay periods were incorrectly set up for a year. you will have to modify them to make sure they are correct for next year. So for instance, if you had set up your employees at 12 pay periods, but your company has decided that they will have a bonus paycheck that will not be included in a normal paycheck, that will be a 13 paycheck, it would be better to change in advance the pay period at the start of the year to make sure you know you're going to have 13 paychecks. You can adjust the pay periods to 13 to be able to use the PI reports in the next year. So as I said, a lot of explanation that would there's a lot of way the PI report could be influenced and not report something that would be incorrect. Again, this is a report that can only be used and is only accurate at year end when the employees have received the same number of paychecks as the number of pay period that was set up. If the pay period setup was changed in the middle of the year, if the basic personal amounts were updated in the middle of the year, if a bonus paycheck was provided, if the employee was let go during the year or hired during the year, all of those situations would be situations where the PI report would be incorrect. And you cannot take directly the PI report and say, okay, I have this amount, I need to do an adjustment of this amount. If you were to do it directly this way, you would cause issues because those amounts, the PI report is actually incorrect. And to check this, you would have to do a manual calculation outside of Sage 50. So this is extremely important to investigate any issues and figure out why you have those issues. Okay. I hope that was useful, and I would expect a lot of questions on this. Don't hesitate to pose those questions in the Q&A. Once you've followed all of the checklists, you're going to be able to start the new year. One thing to remember, if you are using the payroll module, do not start the year before you posted all of the paychecks for 2025. Once you start the 2026 year, the payroll calculations in the paychecks will not work anymore for 2025. The automatic calculation will only work for 2026. So before starting the year, make sure you finish posting all of your 2025 paychecks. Always, always, always do a backup before starting a new year. And the visual is going to be different if your fiscal year is the same as the calendar year. So you can have two situations. To start the new year, in any case, you need to go in maintenance, start new year. If your fiscal year is different from the calendar year, you're going to have this window. You may only start the calendar year, or you may only start the fiscal year depending on when you're following these instructions. So you will have to pick what you want to start. If your fiscal year is the same as the calendar year, you will have only this window that is reminding you to do a backup, and both will be started at the same time. So do not go back in this window and do it a second time. You would move 2 years ahead. You only need to do this step once if you have this window on the right. It will start the new fiscal year and the new calendar year at the same time. Now, one thing that is important. Right now, most of you are probably using the 2025.2 software or the 2026.0. If you are using the payroll module, before posting the first paycheck in 2026, you will need to install the 2026.1 software. That will be the software that contains the new payroll tax tables, as well as the new T4 requirements and T4A, T5018. All of those new requirements will be included in this HFT 2026.1 update. That update will be available by the end of the month, I've been told next week. It is important that you, before posting the first 2026 paychecks, and after installing that update, you will have to go and update your employee claims. The new CPP, QPP, EI rates automatically update in the back end of the file, but the employee claims have to be updated manually. And as a reminder, to update them, you have to go into maintenance, update employee claims. So when you go in there, once you install the 2026.1 update, you will see the new basic personal amount for 2026 that will appear there as of January 1st, 2026. And you can select all of your employees and click on Update Basic Personal Amount. Same thing for the provincial basic personal amount. And if you have employees in different provinces, you will have to do it for each province individually to update everyone. One question that often comes up, what happens if, let's say, you're paying your employees bi-weekly and they have a week, the period is actually, the pay period of the paycheck is in 2025, but the actual check is posted in 2026. The way it works, that paycheck, because it will be posted in 2026, it will appear on the 2026 T4 and RL-1. So they should have the tax tables 2026 applied to them and the new 2026 basic personal amount, even if the pay period is in 2025. Because those paychecks are posted in 2026, they will appear in the 2026 reports and forms. Speaking of T4 and RL-1, so a reminder, Sage50, if you have the automatic payroll, allows you to create them, as well as create an XLM file that you can upload to the CRA and Revenu Quebec websites. So the steps to create those XML files are to go into File, Import, Export, Electronic Filing, Export T4s, or Export RL-1. As a reminder, Sage50 will not connect directly to the government websites. It will save the XML files on your computer, and you will have to go connect to the government websites and upload them. A reminder, but it's been a couple of years, if you have more than 5 employees, the government, the CRA is asking for you to upload those electronically, and they unfortunately make you pay a fee if you mail them if you have more than 5 employees. I'm gonna quickly mention the Year-End Center. We'll talk a bit more about it at the end of the presentation, but this is a website that Sage published online that will regroup all of the information. So everything I'm mentioning right now and a lot more, everything you need to do your year-end will be on this website, from articles, checklists, the links for the software updates when they're available, as well as learning when if you want to see other videos on how to proceed in the website or just learn more about Sage 50. Okay, I'm now going to talk a bit about the installation of the 2026.0 update. As I mentioned a couple of times, a Q&A is opened. Don't hesitate to post your questions online. Dorcas is there to answer you online, and will also provide me some questions at the end so I can answer them directly. And we will also send you a list of the answers to your questions by the end of the week. So, what you need to do before doing the upgrade to Sage 50 2026.0. First off, you can already install it. If you're working on 2025.2, you can already install 2026.0. It will not start the new year for you. You can work in 2025. You can work in the year 2025 while being in this 2026 software. That update does not affect your year-end at all. You can install it in advance. It is actually recommended to install it now, just because it is a big update. If you are using a server, your server will need to be updated. So to access easily to install the update, from within the 2025 software, you can check if the update is available to you. You can go in the help menu, check for product updates. And before doing an update, you should back up your files. So when you go in the help menu, if the update is available to you, you can, and also as I said, help check for product update. If the update is available, you will have this message saying that the update has been downloaded and is ready to be installed. The update will not install directly. It will offer you the ability to install when you close the software. So before closing the software, you can go into File, Backup, and create your backup. After doing your backup, when you close the software, that is when the software will prompt you to install the update. So you can click on Install Now. If you're not ready to install the update right now, you can click on Remind Me Later. If you click on Install Now, the installation wizard will open. If you have this window, you can choose to install on your workstation. It is a typical installation. It is already selected. The advanced installation, the advanced option here is really only if you're using a server and you only update the connection manager on the server. This is an option that is usually only used by the IT technician that is doing the server update. Normally, we are always using the typical installation on your workstations. So you can click on Next. It will install the software, and when the software is installed, you will have this message, installation successful. You can click on Finish. When you click on Finish, the software will open. You will be able to reopen your file. It will convert your file to 2026, and some of you may have a message that is different, where basically the back end of your file will need to confirm your account number. So you may receive this message. Not everyone will have it. Some of you already did this update last year, so you won't see this again. Some of you may not. Basically, the only thing you have to do is verify that the account ID that appears there is your account ID. If it is, you can click on Yes, it will finish the upgrade. If it is not, you can click on No, Ask Me Later. It will open your file. The file will be updated in 2026. You will be able to work on it. This window, if you say no, will not prevent you from opening Sage 50. it will open, you will be able to work on it. This is linked to cloud services. So if you are using the cloud services, you may be using the remote data access, you may be using Sage Connect, Sage HR, bank feeds, invoice payment, or a new connected services that is now available with the 2026 software that is named AI Document Capture. To use those services, you may some of those services, particularly Sage Connect or AI Document Capture, will ask you to confirm this account ID. So if it's not your account ID, you just need to wait until you are on your own computer connected with your own account ID, and your account ID will appear there. Again, it will not prevent you from working in your file. The file will open even if you say no. Okay, so let's now talk about the resources and everything that is accessible to you to help you directly online. So with the installation of the software, you also have another icon that you may be familiar with that appears on your computer screen directly on your desktop. This icon is the resource center. If you don't have the icon, that is fine. You can go to the website sage.com/resources, or directly from within the software, you can go in the Help menu, Sage Support, Resource Center. This is something that is extremely important because this is a place where you will find any information related to Sage 50. So if we were to go into Help, Support, Resource Center, it will open the website directly. If I go from within the software, the options are directly pre-selected, recognizing Sage 50. And I will have access to the community hub, the knowledge base, the download links for the software. If you need access to your serial number and activation codes, it will explain how to access them. The URL center, which we're going to go to in a few seconds. If you need to talk to Sage, if you need to talk to an analyst, you can chat directly with them from there. So we have reports that unfortunately some people are trying to contact us, but search for a phone number directly on Google and are contacting other businesses that pretend to be Sage to make sure that you're really contacting Sage, that you're really contacting the support person and the maker of the software, the official support for Sage 50. You can go directly in this section, open a chat. You will be connected to a chat analyst that can send you to the phone line. They can set up appointments. They can put you on queue to get a phone call directly from a support analyst. You have a section for the learning. So again, with all of your subscriptions for Sage 50, you have access to free learning. Make sure you access it. And so there's free learning accessible and other more in-depth learning accessible if you wish to master the software. You have all of the related services that are there, and also the information with all of the connected services that I mentioned just before. What we're gonna talk about right now is the URL center. So if I go back there, so this is the screenshot I showed earlier. So if we go in the URL center right there, we have the facts, checklists, learning updates. I mentioned it earlier. If I go in the facts, URL activity, something that I mentioned earlier that is quite intensive. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to go in details in there, was the integrity of the file. So if we go into the data integrity section, if it decides to open using not sure why it's a bit slower. Okay, so it's right there. So let's say, so we have article with all of the steps that could be interesting to you. Common issue maybe on your activities. Okay, so let's say there was this I mentioned earlier, the data inconsistencies have been detected. So for the data integrity, and I mentioned each line has its own solution, and you can see more information on this and also links to specific article for each line. And if I go in the first line, I'm going to have an article specific for each line, and I'm going to have the explanation on the utility tool that I mentioned. So if I go in there, I know I went a bit fast on it because unfortunately we don't have a lot of time, but you have the reminder of all of the steps that I mentioned to use this tool properly. And again, always, always, always do a backup. So this year-end center is going to be really important for everything that you could encounter when doing your year-end. If you have an issue, if you have you're not sure how to proceed, you're not sure which report you should print, everything is going to be in there. Now, you may want to talk to an analyst, and that's perfectly fine. And I showed you just before how to access an analyst online to make sure you were connecting to a support analyst. Unfortunately, the support line is not open 24/7, and your end is quite a busy time. One thing that has been developed is when you go talk to a chat analyst, just before talking to an analyst, and you can open this window from the connect to a chat analyst I showed you earlier, or directly from within the software under help, support, live chat. Before talking to an analyst, you will have what is called the Sage Assistant. This is a tool that is developed by the team and AI powered to help you with your questions. This tool is available 24/7. You can come here, ask your questions, and the tool might answer your questions direct you directly to the proper article. If it does not, one, the tool is reviewed every day to be improved. So any question in there helps the tool being developed, being improved. Two, if you go in there and the tool is not able to answer your question during our business hours, you will be directed to a support analyst. So if you are coming to there outside of the business hours, you can still have answers. Don't hesitate to try this tool. As I said, it is being developed and it is being reviewed every single day to make sure it provides the best answers possible. Okay, so this is the time for questions. Dorcas, do you have questions for me?
No questions so far.
No questions?
Not yet.
Okay. So
Not yet.
please,
Still
if you
waiting.
if you have any questions, please send them. If I answered all of your questions already, I'm glad. But please,
I think you did.
I'll try to be as thorough as I can. But there's always, I mean, it's your end. It's always the busiest time, and there's always a lot of pieces that are moving. So any single question that you can think of, don't hesitate to send them to us. I tried to not talk too fast, you know, between the accent and me speaking a bit fast because I could see the time. It could be a bit confusing, but again, if you have any questions, please send them so we can answer
Hello,
them.
I got some questions.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so I have a small business with 3 employees. My employees prepare their time slip. Oh, it's very long. I think I'm going to publish it and we can answer later because it's a bit long
okay,
as
yeah,
question.
absolutely.
Okay, so I have another one. Uh, I'm not sure if you can respond, but I'm wondering if RSP deductions automatically appear in box 40 on the T4 slips.
No, not automatically. So, sorry. If I go back in the software, when you prepare your T4s, so it can be to print them under report, payroll, T4 slips and summary, or as I showed earlier, when you create the electronic file, so export T4s. In both cases, it will, it's going to be easier if I go to print because otherwise it's going to ask me for the codes. Once you select, so I'm going to uncheck this to not have the business ID asked. Once you select your employees that have worked in 2025, on the next page, when I click on OK, it will ask me to select the boxes. So if I have an income or a deduction, a benefit or a deduction that is for the RSP, I will have to pick. So for the benefit, I will have to pick it directly in there to make sure it appears on the box 40. So if my income 5 was the RSP benefit, I will need to pick this. Once this is selected, yes, all of the amounts that are appearing in my employee records as the income 5 will appear in the box 40 for all of my employees. Same thing for any other optional boxes. So those are the boxes for the incomes and benefits and for the deductions. And same thing if you're in Quebec for the RL-1, there's also optional boxes. You can select them the same way.
I have another question. Thank you, Ivana. So the next one wants to know if he's going to receive a copy of the presentation.
Yes. So this presentation is going to be, so it is recorded, it's going to be posted online. If I go back, I would think it will be in the community hub. You will have a link. And for anyone that was registered for this meeting, you will receive an email.
Thank you, Ivana. I have another question. We are a cash accounting firm with a fiscal year and December 31st. Can I do 2026 January 2nd payroll without rolling the year, without messing up T4s if it is post-dated?
So what type of transaction do you want to post in January? It will
I think he's
depend.
talking about a payroll.
So no, if a paycheck is posted on January 2, it will appear on the 2026 T4s. That is the normal process. If you wanted to post it and make sure it appears on the 2025 T4s, you will need to be posted at the latest on December 31st. Again, it is not the period dates that matter, it really is the check dates that matter. If the check date is in 2026, the paycheck will be in the 2026 T4. If the check date is in 2025, and the paycheck will be in the 2025 T4. Now it is really important because it was the same thing last year. So if you had a paycheck with a pay period that was in 2024, but posted in 2025, that paycheck would appear in the 2025 T4 or RL-1. So you need to make sure that you do it properly and that the amounts are reported at the proper time. To be safe, for you can consult with the CRA or your accountant for this type of answers, on these type of questions, to make sure when you should report and post your paychecks. Can only tell you how it works in Sage 50, unfortunately.
Thank you, Ivana. Can you take another question, please?
Yeah.
Okay, I have this one. We use 24 pays for a year. If the employee worked for last 6 months of the year, 12 pays, wondering the pay frequency settings for this employee. Is it 12 or 24?
So it would depend. Well, no. What is important is the frequency. So even if the employee only worked 6 months, if your frequency is twice a month, and the paychecks are sent twice a month, the pay period is 24. Otherwise, if you were to put 12, yes, that would match the pay period, but the calculation would be incorrect because the software estimates how much the employee would make if they were to work the full year. So the way the calculation works, it takes into account the exception, the pay period, the gross pay. There's a lot of things in that equation. What matters is the frequency. So if they receive 2 paychecks per month, even if they worked only 6 months, the pay period should be 24. Otherwise, the system will estimate that what they make in 2 weeks is what they make in a month, and the estimation is going to be incorrect. So the calculation of the CPP or QPP is going to be incorrect.
Thank you, Ivana. Can I go for another one?
Yeah.
Thanks. Can you have 2 different pay periods? For example, our staff are paid semi-monthly, 24 pay periods, but our board members only get paid once a month, but are set up as, say, 24 pay periods per year. Should or could we set up the board members with a 12 pay period per year and the employee staff with a 24 pay period per year?
Yes, you should set up each employee for their own pay period. So if you have board members that are only paid once a month, they should be on a 12 pay period setup, while the other employees that are paid twice a month should be in 24 pay periods. Yes, they can have different. That way you can make sure, because otherwise the board members that are set up for 24 pay periods but only receive 12 paychecks, one paycheck is estimated to be actually half a month, so they are overpaying the CPP or QPP. So yes, they should, each employee, board member or not, should be set up according to their own paycheck frequency. So you can have 2 frequencies, yes.
Ivana,
Yeah.
can I go for another one?
A quick one.
Okay. Is there a difference between sending an accountant a backup versus producing an accountant's copy?
Yes. So a backup, if we go into file backup, that's going to be a full file. That's going to be the full file that's going to be compressed. If you send an accountant's copy, that is the full file information, but your accountant is actually only going to be able to access the general journal. They will be able to see all of the reports, all of the data, but they can only enter data as a general journal and they will send you back in the accountant's copy, they will send you back just a list of entries in a text file that you will be able to re-import in your file. So by going under File, Import Transactions, coming from your accountant's copy transactions. So if you send a backup to your accountant, a full file, you cannot work in your file while your accountant is working, because they're going to make their adjustments on their side and then send you back a backup with the adjustments. While if you send them an accountant's copy, you can keep working on your file and you just re-import a text file with just the transactions that you need from them. So it's a lot easier to be able to keep working if you send them an accountant's copy. Otherwise, you can use the cloud feature to share the file with your accountant using the remote data access. That way, you can also keep working on your file and your accountant can work on your file on their side, and there's no time when you cannot work in your file. Okay. I hope that was clear. We may send more details when we're gonna send the Q&A answers by email. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope I answered your questions, and have a great day, everyone.